Well, welcome you guys. My name is Micah Orloff. I am the director of the @ONE project. How many of you guys are familiar with @ONE? Okay, a few hands in the room. For those of you that are not, @ONE is the Chancellor's Office technology training initiative. So the Chancellor's Office put together some funds and provided a group that connected with Palomar College and Mount San Jacinto College down in the south to host a few different projects, actually. CCC Confer, which is the one that is running the online portion of this conference, as well as 3C Media Solutions, which there's a session in the agenda, I believe, today to talk a little bit more about what that project does for you. And then there's @ONE. And these are statewide subsidized projects in hopes of providing you guys additional services and support as you guys do the big thing, which is instruct and teach our students. So we want to make sure that we're providing some support services. What @ONE does is provide usually training and innovation sharing. And so what we're going to talk about today is kind of that idea behind innovation sharing and how we do that. One way we do that for sure is a conference, right? We come to a conference, we get to hear about what other people are doing in our discipline, and we get to connect. Often that requires us to travel, right? We travel across, I know some people are traveling from across the East Coast. We were just talking about that. Some may not make it because of that storm, and so they are not able to participate. Luckily, we provide, the online portion of this conference so that somebody could participate online. But how do we keep it going? Because we have some great conferences that take place, and we have amazing connections. We network well. We'll exchange our business cards. We have a good time. But how often do we are able to take those business cards and take it to the next level and communicate and connect and find other ways of collaborating with one another and innovating? Because the truth is, we're doing great things across our system, across the nation, and sometimes it's just that connection of working with one another to find that out. So what we're going to talk about today is a program that @ONE came up with known as the Center. And what I'm hoping to share with you guys today is ways maybe that those of you that are in ICT can either leverage the Center or use technology similar to the Center to also create your own kind of communities of practice and communities of sharing and interest. So we'll be talking about the Center today. But kind of going in further about that challenge, like for example in our system we have schools across the entire state that are serving 2.4, 2.3 right now million students, and with those, we @ONE serve 85,000 different faculty. If they want to participate with us, there's 85,000 faculty that we could provide technology training to. And there's 112 diverse colleges with different needs. We can have a school like CCSF that serves how many students? 83,000, 85,000 here? And then you just go down a little bit to Kenyatta, and you have a much smaller group, and it's a diverse difference in the city, and then there's a little bit more of suburbia area in that. And so really what you see is we have a diverse group of faculty that are going to be serving a diverse group of students, and then there's probably diverse ways we deliver and try to share. So how do we get with those many different schools and people to share innovation that's taking place across all those areas? The conferences, like we just mentioned. If the conference can't make it physically to the conference, we might have an online portion or component like we just talked about. Or we could try to leverage emerging technologies, social technologies potentially, that could help us keep that going. And I think year-round, and thinking about professional development more like not something we do once a year at a conference or twice a year at a conference or at a training or a 5-day deep dive, but in essence that we develop continuously. Student Success Task Force recently came out, or a couple years ago anyway, with a recommendation 6, saying that the system needs to revitalize and re-envision professional development because of the way we currently consider it. We consider it training. But the truth is, development is much more than just training. And so we were trying to think, what other ways can we do that? Well, we know CCC Confer does, allows us to do online sessions like webinars and stuff, and that's great. How do we keep them connected still after even the webinar? And so we started to think, well, maybe social tools could help that out. One of the other things that @ONE does very focused is we're online, we teach on online effectiveness, teaching online and how to be effective online. And one of the things we've received in our feedback in terms of faculty and online is a lot of them aren't actually using video to communicate and interact with their student population, or even the other faculty population, which is interesting because it's like, okay, well, what are the reasons? And what's funny is we found out that some of it is psychological. Some of it is, hey, I don't want to get in front of that camera. You know, I mean, when I get in front of that camera, I get a little uncomfortable. I want to be perfect. If I see myself and I don't like the way I look on that camera, I'm going to press stop and I'm going to restart over. And then every time I do that, it seems like it takes a much longer time for me to develop this video that I'm trying to do. And so we're thinking, well, maybe if there's ways for us to break through that psychological barrier by maybe giving them environments that allow them to use it more comfortably, and then they don't have to worry about the production, necessities as much, and get a little bit more comfortable with just using that type of technology, because it's pervasive now, right? I mean, they sell monitors now, just standard LCD monitors with the actual webcam built into the monitor. So it's pervasive. All the laptops have them. Our phones have them. So how can we start to use some of that? So we thought about this environment and trying to use social technologies, maybe have a community space. We looked at things like the Facebook groups. We looked at different places where maybe we can get people to use an easy-to-use environment that maybe they're comfortable with or have used before. So we came up with a place called The Center. And basically, it's the idea behind sharing, innovating, and collaborating with one another across the 112 colleges in the system, even though we actually have members from all over that participate in the Google Plus community. And what they can do is, with the Google Plus community, people share resources. I'll show a demo of the actual live site in a minute here, but you'll see here that there's like different ideas for topics and discussions that can take place. It uses kind of social technology in the sense that it's more of a streamed connection rather than your Web 1.0 discussion board format. And so you could see commentary and dialogue take place in a much easier fashion. Definitely has access to more social presence. You see the people you're communicating with. So we thought, okay, we're going to try this Google community and see if it helps us. But it wasn't enough just to do, we felt, just a asynchronous community where you can pop in, pop out. We know it's important for that, but we wanted to know what else could we do to kind of help in that capacity. And so we decided what we would do is we would also include live Hangouts. How many of you guys have used Google Hangout technology? Okay, a few of you. So Google Hangout technology is basically the opportunity, it's like Skype. I think the difference between it and Skype is that with Skype, to do more than one-to-one communication, you have to actually pay for the premium package. Where with Hangouts, you can do up to, I believe it's 10 now, screens and communication connections. So what that does is it allows easier entry into using the tool. As long as you have a webcam, audio, you can really connect. This is one of our first ones here, this example. This is Michelle Pacansky-Brock. She's an educator in our system. Teaches art history for Mount San Jacinto College. It was formerly of Sierra College, and she is our community coordinator at @ONE now, where she kind of brings together topics that are of interest by the faculty, and then arranges sessions with people who could help in more of like a roundtable or interview kind of connection. And they share this space and share it in a roundtable interview, their thoughts, their feelings about how they're doing something, or maybe an exciting way that they're implementing a technology or a pedagogical practice, and they might demonstrate it or showcase it. And then what they do is, this is being streamed through YouTube, so anyone that can sit in and just watch can participate. If there's questions, as you can see here, we use the hashtag on a back channel, and so if you're on Twitter, you can actually tweet a question, and so we have somebody there moderating the questions, and then the panel will communicate with them and answer those questions. What it really does is it provides an opportunity for, in essence, kind of birds of a feather sessions that often happen at conferences, that might happen in your department meetings. This is happening across 112 different colleges. And so we'll have people jump in and participate. I think we peaked out right now about where people have sat in at like 234, I think people sit in and watch and listen, and then they'll communicate via the Twitter chat and ask questions, or even have dialogue. What we've noticed sometimes is even though there's a presentation going on there, the actual back channel people will be just having dialogue with each other, and communicating and sharing ideas, even though there's something else going on here too. And that's what we're really all about, I think, is that we want to be able to share that kind of opportunity and space for them to do so. While we might be having something here, it gives them a space to interact and connect. What I really liked about this one here, and this session was one of our first ones, this had to do with utilizing any new emerging technology with Social Media Month, and they were talking about any kind of emerging technology that they use and how they've integrated into their program or their class. And this is Biology Jen out of, I think she is actually Kenyatta. And she was sharing a little bit about how she's integrated Twitter and how she's using it in her classroom with her students. I think she has the students create a study guide by creating, when they have a cool note or something that they want to share, they tweet it to a hashtag, and then it becomes a cumulative and comprehensive study guide that every student can use. It promotes active learning, active thinking. They have to use the technology to do so. So she's sharing her thoughts. What I really like about this gentleman here is he's outfitted in New York. He teaches for the California community colleges, but he's outfitted in New York. And so he's at home, New York, 3-hour difference. So I think we were running this at 4 p.m. So 7 p.m. he's at home, able to still participate in this professional development opportunity and share how he was also incorporating, I don't think his was Twitter, I think it was something else, but basically there are opportunities to demonstrate, share, and she moderates by asking certain questions that bring out thought and idea. We run 2 of these a month, and they're live and synchronous. However, they're also archived for review, so you can go right back to the community and actually see those sessions, and in those sessions review it. If you sat in on the live session and was, oh, that was really good, I want to check it out again, you could do so. Or if you missed it live, you could still go back and check it out on our YouTube channel. We also issue center challenges. So this is kind of an idea behind, we need to take it one step further. It's not enough just to have people consume, but we also want people to use critical thinking as faculty to develop themselves by thinking how they can apply the same type of practices. So one of the center challenges might be, how could you incorporate Twitter for learning in your classroom? You thinking about your discipline, thinking about your actual use, maybe your course outline. And we ask them to communicate via the Google PlusCommunity, share their thoughts on how they might do it specifically. And what we've noticed when people do that is somebody will say, well, I teach computer networking, and I notice that if I have students connected on, in China, then what I can do is connect with them via Google Hangouts, talk about it, share, via their share tool, because they have a share tool in this as well. And then I can have those students come back and use the Twitter back channel if they're not able to participate in the actual interview. Or some people said, oh, well, I can actually interview one of my colleagues. So I'm the one that's the moderator, and I'm interviewing a colleague, having them come into my classroom, even though they're across the nation, across the country, whatever, and have the students listen in as if it's like a special guest speaker, and they can use the back channel as their question point, for that. And so what we started to see was that would come out, and then all of a sudden another instructor would say, that's a great idea, except I'm in English, I could do that with a poet. I could do that with an artist. And they started using the ideas across discipline. And it was just the fact that they were able to share and communicate that. And with the center challenge, what we typically try to do is we're hoping that by them, asking them to do a work that they will share, and then it starts to see the sharing take place. So we'll kind of initiate it, hoping that they'll come back with some information. It was a slow start for the center challenges because everybody's busy. Why would I write to your center challenge if I'm, so we started to incentivize it a little bit. We said, of all the center challenge sharings or contributions that you guys provide, the last one we did was on effective online assessment. So we had a panel of 6 educators or 5 educators that had good experience in online assessment and how you do it effectively and how can you, maintain integrity, but also ensure that there's deeper learning taking place and all those different types of things. And what we did with that center challenge was whoever would participate in the center challenge, that we would randomly select from those center challenge selections a winner, and that winner would be identified, distinguished contribution, and also would get a free registration to one of the @1 classes. And the @1 class that it was the Designing Effective Online Assessment class. So what ended up happening was we started seeing that incentive play out because people started participating a little bit more, sharing a little bit more about their challenge, and therefore somebody won and was able to take the class and further their development in effective online assessment. So this is one kind of way that we do or we kind of incorporate development, and it's live synchronous hangouts with the use of a live synchronous Twitter back channel. We also do a synchronous Twitter chat, and what we mean by that is not the hangout, but the following week we have a follow-up Twitter chat. So it maintains on Twitter, and there's a conversation for about an hour between educators communicating with one another about ways that they share, that they have implemented new emerging technologies, effective practice, pedagogy, whatever it may be. And that also is guided by Michelle here. She usually has like 5 to 6 questions that really try to stimulate creative thinking from the instructor standpoint and anyone who's consuming the session. So, so those are the live hangouts. The idea behind all of this is that we really believe that there's an opportunity for people to not just connect. So this idea behind Learning Collective, have you guys ever heard of the Learning Collective? So it's this kind of learning idea behind collective learning where people who participate in a learning collective or collective learning model will start by connecting to the community, right? And then after they consume a little bit, because they're lurkers, and so they're, we all start off that way, right? We join a community online or something like that. We don't jump right in and start posting things. We kind of listen and find out, the norms of the group, and we find out how it's working. And same thing with a physical group too. We kind of sit in and listen to everybody else first, and we start to consume a little bit of what comes out. So in this case, we might share some cool ideas or whatnot, and they'll consume it, not really jumping in too much. Eventually, they start realizing as they're consuming that some great ideas, like, hey, that's an excellent idea. I do want to have a guest speaker in my class, and this seems like a decent technology to make that happen. I'm going to try it myself. So they start creating their own experience with that same technology or an alteration of it for their specific purpose. And then eventually, they're excited about what they're doing. And they're like, wow, this really works. I was able to bring in this guest speaker, and then I brought in this guest speaker. Then I had the students actually go and collaborate together on the same technology. It was fantastic, et cetera, et cetera. Then they actually come back to the same learning collective and contribute back. And what I mean by that is, then they start sharing with the rest of the group. Hey, this is what I did after hearing about this. And I want to show you guys this because I think that the way I created this really has been helpful. And the idea behind that is that now you move from just being a lurker up in this section to an actual contributor of the community, an active member of the community. And really that's a cycle of contribution, cycle of a community, and it ends up becoming this learning collective. Stephen Downs, professor out of Manitoba, University of Manitoba in Canada, He loves the idea behind the Learning Collective and how it can help produce effective, not just consumers of learning, but also become contributors to learning. And it really fosters that idea behind continuous development. So, why don't we take a quick look here into the program? Let me open up to questions while I'm doing this too. What kind of questions you guys have so far?
Well, I have a question about the Google Plus community. How would one find out about what's coming up? You mentioned twice a month there's something. Would you go on CCC Confer or at one or? Great question.
My suggestion would be that you actually join the community, and then you'll be notified of events that come up. And also we have kind of an interface where it kind of demonstrates that a little bit more. So, for example, we started this in October, and we're pretty surprised by the activity so far. We have 138 members that joined since then, and a lot of them are very active members. We have 160 people, I believe, on the Twitter handle as well, that follow the Twitter handle. But you'll see some things where we have these different discussions, like different posts. We have people introduce themselves when they first join the environment. So you can pop here, and then you'll see that people demonstrate a little bit about themselves. Some people go in and, like Katie here from San Diego Community College District, decided to do it as a video versus, and so it's the idea of kind of just demonstrating ways of doing things. But it's an opportunity for you to communicate, connect, let your hair down a little bit. So, go ahead.
Sure, I was just going to interleave here and ask, what's your advice on creating a disposable or a one-off Google Plus? Like, for example, I'm an online instructor. I got an online class coming up on Monday. Mm-hmm. Should I create a Google Plus community that's just for that one class? And there's also a lot of overlap between this and Blackboard. Believe me, if I had my brothers, I wouldn't use this, but my colleagues use Blackboard. So I guess a couple questions.
Great questions. I think what I would point out to you is that much like we can learn anywhere, right? I mean, yeah, we have classrooms and that's formal learning, but we can learn. We walk down the street, we can learn about martial arts. If we walk down the street, we can go into a martial arts building, and we can go into. I saw the people in the cultural center doing Tai Chi this morning, and there's lots of places we can learn. And so one of the things that I would point out, I think it's a great idea. You could create a one-off kind of Google community for your class, but could there be more power in the sense of you have an open community for all of your learners, any section, any time? And what ends up happening is you start to foster a learning environment for even students that are no longer your students, that are there to help. They want, I mean, all of us continue to learn, yeah. So maybe you create, I guess a perfect example would be, we have a Spanish instructor, Debbie Lemon, out of Ohlone, I believe. And Debbie has a community, and her community is for all Spanish students, and they don't, even after the students leave her class, they're still involved in that environment. And the reason is because they bring experiential value to the other students. And then there's fostering of information and ideas, and so it actually gives them even more time for conversation in that language for that. So to answer your first question, I would say you might want to even explore, instead of a one-off, a community for every student that could participate in your sections. And if you teach multiple classes, what you could, or like different courses, you could either do multiple communities per course, or you could do one big community and then you have subsections for each class that the posts go directly to that area.
Yeah, I appreciate the answer. And then the second question, it's about duplicating effort.
Sure.
Will we use Google Plus instead of the discussion board on Blackboard?
Great question. And this is a hard one to answer, obviously. I think one of the reasons why we at One have used the center is because we serve 112 different colleges. They all have different learning management systems, so it's very difficult to just stick to one. Also because we noticed that Google's pretty pervasive as well. A lot of us has probably touched Google at some point, either with a Gmail account, a YouTube account, or something. And so therefore, we've had a connection here with that. So that's why we chose this environment, but I think it's an appropriate question, because if you're going to contain it to just one environment, like your own classes, it may very well be worthwhile to keep it within the course shell. Now, the question becomes, if you maintain it just for that course, then in Blackboard, when Blackboard shells disappear, then so does the content. Where here, this is you have a record of that content ongoing, and so you have to keep that in mind too. We're a Blackboard school, and I think Blackboard has a lot of things to offer. Any learning management system has anything to offer, a lot to offer, but the one concern with the learning management system is a lot of times the management of the administration of the learning management system at your institution, their protocols might not match with what you want to do with your content, right? So, like, I was just writing an email to our constituencies, letting them know that, if you need to restore your old Blackboard courses, you need to do it by this date because of so forth, so on. And so that could lead to some of those issues. One of the primary things I think about this environment, or any environment outside of your standard course management system, is that flexibility. The idea that you don't have to worry about something disappearing, that you don't have to worry about, well, hey, why are you doing it in Blackboard versus Moodle or this and that, or I'm at a different school, and so it really makes sense for this environment. So if you guys were to do your own kind of hangouts and stuff like that, then you could consider creating your own kind of environment. But one thing that I want to share with you guys about the center too is, I hope that you guys consume it in the sense that there's things that are being spoken about. How many of you guys teach online, for example? 2 of you? There's things being spoken about here that relate to you in a way that you're an online instructor, or you're a technology-driven, you mediate your classes with technology instructor, right? So they share practice and good ideas in this environment as well, in just that alone. So like, here's a section on teaching and learning. And so I came across a webinar promoting excellence online by Rena Paloff, very popular practitioner online for online teaching. That she did a webinar for Inside Higher Ed. A lot of people don't know that that's going on. Sharing it to the community, anyone who's a part of the community now knows, and so therefore could participate in that webinar, which is a free webinar for them. We also, like, here's that online assessment roundtable. So for example, I'm going to click play on here, and
that you see in the corner of your screen, and you can follow us on Twitter at Center_Ed.
So I'm going to pause real quick. So an example here is, for example, we have Bill Doherty, who is used to be involved with that one, or still is involved with that one. He's a teacher of that one in our Designing Effective Online Assessment. So his background is in actually evaluation and assessment. And Sandy Haynes out of Pasadena City College teaches art history, and so she has a lot of expertise in how she assesses with authentic assessment versus standardized and traditional assessment. And so she demonstrates or shares some of the ways she's doing it in an online fashion. We have Kathy Dam out of Saddleback College that is sharing a little bit about what she's done in her time at Saddleback, as well as she used to work for University of Nevada, and the way she's been delivering online assessment. And then Kara Kuzakis, and I think Kara's at Ohlone. But the idea is, those are 4 different schools, and then of course Michelle, who also represents MSJC, 5 different schools, and their thoughts on online assessment and practices that they're putting in place being shared and demonstrating. And so it really is this like casual kind of interview, and we get to sit in and listen to it and collect information and ideas from it, chat through the hashtag back channel, and try to learn a little bit more. And so we're getting a good kind of fostered community there, and they're participating and learning a little bit about these different ideas.
I'm completely new to the center, but does Google store all this information? Is there a limit to the digital resources that they will store in their cloud? Because I'm in the video area, and we do a lot of high storage,
That's a great question.
Many gigabytes.
Yeah, that's a great question. I think with, like, for example, video. Now, in most cases for video, what they would use is, because Google owns YouTube, so what they would do is they'd probably tell you, upload it to the YouTube repository. And then when you upload it to the YouTube repository, you could still have your privacy settings, you know, where you want it. If you only want it to be available to people within your private community, you can set those privacy settings. But yeah, they would probably use their video storage for that. And what's really nice about that is you could use that environment for your not only your video repository, but also as an environment for commenting, critique. You know, like, here's my video, check this out, give me a little idea about what you guys think, and then they carry a social dialogue underneath. Oh, I really loved in this moment, but at 3:23, I thought the lighting over here could have been a little bit better. You know, the transition here. You know, all those type of things could be shared and carry the dialogue in the same space. A lot of times with like learning management systems, the issue with learning management systems in that kind of environment is often the assignment is in an assignment area.
Oh, yeah.
And the discussion is in a discussion area. Unless you can get those in the same place, it's like, you know, trying to do one of those things where you're jumping back and forth. And so, yeah, it's really nice to be able to kind of have the conversation around the media. And that is more possible, I think, in this type of environment. Now, don't get me wrong, I've been able to do it in the Blackboards and the Moodles. You basically make sure that the media is embedded in the actual discussion, but it's still difficult.
You run up against a storage requirement there too. I migrated to YouTube many years ago, and for those reasons, I've never really looked back.
And they've really
stuff on Blackboard.
And they've really like opened up. YouTube did opened up their opportunities where it used to be like you only could do 10 minutes before, things like that. They've really stretched it now. Where
if you request, I made a request for them and told them I was an educator and they did that for 30 minutes.
Yeah.
All right. Yeah, actually more than that, but
yeah. And the storage limit, it doesn't matter. It's 30 minutes, 30 minutes, 30 minutes. So I mean, if it's high res, it's high res, and that's what's great about too is they give you the high res capability.
Of plays on different devices. Then all of a sudden I had people say, "Oh, I can't download your MWB file on my iPad."
Yeah.
Yeah, you can. It's on YouTube.
Exactly. Exactly. Very important kind of aspect, actually. Thank you for sharing that. Is that it's portable and it's mobile. Instead of having to take a file and play it off of a proprietary player on all your different devices, the fact that it's now HTML5 compliant, most mobile phones are going to be able to play it. And so that's the other part of the 3C Media Solutions session that's later, I don't know if it's today or tomorrow, but that session is a statewide repository that you can find other videos that you might be interested in. Or if you're a CCC Confer user and you record your sessions, they will do the recording and upload it to those environments for you so that you don't have to do any extra work. And if you offer captioning on CCC Confer, for those of you that are familiar with Confer's captioning availability, it'll actually upload the captions for you as well. So it's kind of a really cool partnership between Confer and 3C Media Solutions to provide that kind of resource and service for you. So the idea is that you'll start to see some interaction. So for example, here's Dan Barnett out of Butte College. I need a grading scheme to encourage excellence for a no-pass online course. And he asked this question, any suggestions? And then there was kind of a dialogue that took place between him and Michelle specifically about how to do some reflection, using summative reflection, and providing links to that. Here's something on a new tool called S'more, which is used to help with making it more effective and easy to use individual page, or like you want to create a website but you're not familiar with website creation, or you want it to be an easy website creation and not have to go through your HTML authors and editors. Then there's a lot of new tools out there that are allowing that, and sometimes we're so busy in just our everyday life of managing our classes that we never get to learn about those things. And so therefore that's an environment that you could learn a little bit more about. And then conversations just take place in that. So lots of different things going on. We had a conversation earlier this year regarding the cost of our tools. And the idea that, man, there's so many tools out there, we buy this, we buy that, we buy this. Could there be another way for us to better support each other in that? And so they started carrying on a conversation about almost like group buying. You know, so because we're all buying the same softwares, or if our school's providing it, they're buying it, but how are they getting the better discounts for that? And they're trying to leverage and stretch the dollar. And so they actually carried on a conversation where the conversation got to the point where they started talking about going to the companies and creating agreements and telling them, look, here's how we stretch the dollar for you. We're willing to invest in there's 20 of us here, we're willing to invest in your software if you do, you know, such and such, or if you provide this discount. And so lots of great interactions taking place in this environment. We provide some common ones, you know, like the next one that's coming up, I think in a couple weeks here. Let me look at the event area here. Where is it? I wonder if I had to be logged in to see the actual event. We have well, here's one from Palomar College. They're posting one on active learning leaders, a little conference on coming up here soon. So it's just these like little ideas where we can get more information about things. But there's an event coming up in a couple weeks here on starting your class and the checklist behind what kind of tips and what kind of things should you be considering, especially if you're utilizing technology. You know, some of the things like, oh, did you clear this environment? Did you clear your discussion boards before, you know, moving to the next section? Did you update your syllabus and make sure the dates are all reflected? You know, all those kind of things. But they also go into more efficient detail on how you can make those things happen more efficiently. You know, sometimes, like especially with learning management systems, you know, you're familiar with the tools you use in learning management systems, but you're not necessarily familiar with the new tools that have been added to the system in recent times, right? And so I just had a conversation with an instructor who's like, oh, I'm so happy, you know, or she was like, I'm hoping that this will be able to do this, and she wanted to know how to update her dates, like due dates, from one term to the next, without having to do it manually for every little thing. Well, somebody had popped up and said, oh yeah, you know, I use the date management feature in this learning management system. They're like, date management feature? I have that learning management system. I don't know. Well, it's right here. It's, oh my gosh, you just saved me, you know. And it's that idea behind just having a connection and just connecting with the right people to know what you're looking for. And so there's basically these different conversations going on and these different offerings. And I wanted to see if I can bring up, let's see, go to all post here. So we had a highlight, 40-second highlight of our Twitter connections over the last year, and so we shared it. So it's like it combines all the different power words we're using, and then we talked about the different interactors that are very popular. But the idea is that, yeah, all it did was collect all the information from the Twitter feed and did that. But you'll see some really cool things. Let me show you one of our store files really quick. So if you missed the Hangout, you can go to the Hangout archives, and it'll bring up our YouTube channel, and you'll see one of the archives of those Hangouts. If you're interested in participating in a Hangout or want a certain type of Hangout to take place, you can submit a topic, and we start looking about it and trying to find information about people who could share a little bit more about that. Let's see.
How long did it take you to create all this interface?
You'll be very surprised that most of this interface is already pre-made. Now, for example, like this image, that's the only thing we probably uploaded here and created just these separate sections. And that's just like add new section kind of, and it puts a little, almost like in Blackboard where you can add a new course menu link. Same thing. And then when you start posting those areas, you click add new post, and the reason why I'm not logged in right now so it doesn't show it, but there's like a little add post button. It's just like your Facebooks or anywhere else. When you press it, it says, do you want to post it to introduce yourself here? Do you want to post it to getting started? Do you want to post it to teaching and learning? And it connects that up.
And Micah, besides coming to like MPICT, how else are you advertising these features to the 112 colleges?
Yeah, so
both faculty and their administrators.
So we try to We try to do the conference circuit a little bit,
Like
obviously. CCC AOE has not been the one that has been on our target before. Interestingly enough, well, we've done a few different conferences, and then we also go through the PIO office and the Chancellor's office and try to get them to communicate some of the things that we're doing.
What office?
Public info? Yeah.
It's better to go through career technical education at the Chancellor's office.
Yeah. So career tech is is one discipline. Obviously, what we do is we have a lot of different disciplines that we serve. But yeah, definitely, there's lots of different areas that we can reach out to.
Because the public information office, the Chancellor's office, doesn't talk to the programs that deal with the field.
Yeah.
It's mostly public information to get information out about what the Chancellor's events are, and it goes mostly to upper level staff, Chancellors, and other vice Chancellors. So
it's not going to filter
not
down.
going to reach back.
No.
We went to
CCAOE would reach faculty if you do a presentation. They're looking still for presentations in the spring.
Okay, great.
And that's where you're going to get 300-400 faculty members in CTE.
Great. CCC.
AOE, California Community College Association of Occupational Education.
And they have a conference twice a year.
Okay, great.
Spring and fall, the spring and Sacramento.
Excellent. Questions?
I just had a question as far as from Google as a company itself. What kind of contract do you have with Google, or what is it in for them? Because they're getting into the space of education. Are they using this information for their corporation? Or?
That's a great question. We don't have a specific contract with Google right now. We're using their general environment for Google Communities, which is free. When you start to join, like for example, the Google Apps for Education movement, then usually you can contract on certain content and data, what you do with it and what you share with it.
Or do we know if they're using this information to support their objectives in education?
No, I don't believe that they're using this information in that capacity.
Yeah, the lawyers will get the fine print.
Yeah. No, there's no direct connection with this community and their specific objectives and initiatives for their education initiatives, specifically through Google. Yeah. We're just using the environment as a common space for connecting the 112 colleges. But yeah, so it's just a different way. One of the things we really are interested in finding out is a lot of the trigger had to do with the video part of it, because we know from our data that came back in one of our recent surveys was a lot of people are uncomfortable with interfacing via video online. And so we're hoping that these type of more informal interviews, roundtables, and activities where maybe they'll jump in and decide they want to just share a little bit about what they're doing in a roundtable to get them a little bit more comfortable. And having that interface be more common is something that maybe that will break through that barrier.
So a very basic question, maybe I missed it. Once you get to Google, how do you navigate to the center to join?
Yeah, so let me do this for you. I'm going to jump back out to the PowerPoint. And so we have this website is where you would go in Google. So it's just HTTP, :// G+ for like Google Plus .to/the center. And what that does is that will take you right to that front page that you just saw, and then there will be a button at the top that says Join Google Plus. And all you need to do is use your Google account. So if you've ever had a Gmail account, if you ever had a YouTube account, if you've ever had a Google Chat account, anything that's Google related, if you ever had a Google Marketplace, a Play account, if you have an Android phone, I mean, pretty much now they're everywhere. So you can use any of those connections to get into the environment and visit at this site, the center. If you're a Twitter user and want to follow them on the Twitter channel for quick updates and whatnot, then you can go to the handle @center_ed.
Is it capital T and capital C required?
It's not required. I don't know why.
So you can read it.
Yeah, probably read it. Yeah.
I'm curious if there's been any kind of more focused topical sessions or threads, around like how you teach this particular technology, in a more general, like, anyone specific?
Yeah, you know, I think so far we've kind of stayed away from specific technologies, like saying, oh, you can use this, and let's do an entire session on that technology. Rather, what we're doing is like we'll do something like online assessment, right? And then what we'll do is, as we're talking about online assessment, some of the participants in the roundtable or people from the audience will demonstrate ways or share ways that they're doing it with a specific technology. So somebody might come in and they say, I'm using, you know, I'm using the online retention center in Blackboard to verify that students are getting to a certain level, and then I can monitor them, and so they start sharing links to those things and whatnot.
There's something that's a little different, like, let's say that I've got an instructor that's teaching Ruby for the first time, and they want to get some curriculum, and then see what people are doing across the state to teach Ruby.
Yeah. So we haven't done a specific thing on that. That's where I think that you can, especially since, again, we're doing all sorts of different disciplines, where maybe this becomes like a brokering space to kind of connect the people that can do that, using the same type of technology. So you might, you know, and because a lot of your instructors are here at a conference like this, this may be one of the places where you start with something like that. You say, hey, do you guys want to set up some kind of like, you know, online exchange of, you know, information? You can use a community like this to do such. But yeah, we kind of stayed more, I would say we stayed more on the pedagogical side, and where technology comes in, that's where it comes in, and let that kind of flesh itself out.
Well, I have some questions. I tried to invite, I've actually joined on the center. I haven't really participated in it yet, but I'm still getting used to how it works. But when I went to invite people, they need to also be set up with Google+. You can't invite them unless they're already in Google at some point. They have to,
yeah, they have to have a, what you can do is send them the Google link, just send them the, like this G+.to, the center. Okay. So when they get there, then they'll have at the top of the page, join this community button.
Okay.
Then you leave it up to them, so you don't have to invite them directly. You leave it up to them. When they join up, then it's going to say, well, what's your Google account? And then that's their call. If they have an Android phone, they already have a Google account for sure. I can tell you that. If they have a Gmail account, if they have a YouTube account, all of those, they're pretty much, you have a Google account. Any other questions, comments, concerns?
I'd just like to know, like that, obviously you're now just at the awareness point, getting these tools and these platforms out there. Being a program out of the Chancellor's office, do you have any formal objectives on how many educators you want using this, how much content you want shared, and all that?
That's a great question. And what's funny about the center is this is actually more of an outreach objective than it is a environment objective. So where we do training, our staple trainings are through our webinars, through our online courses, and through our certification program. We've actually used the center more as an outreach objective. And so we didn't target any like, okay, we need to have 200 people participating in this or 500 people out of the system participating in this. We were using it more as a kind of, if you come in and participate in these informal environments, as you're probably aware, we're probably going to communicate to you some of the other things we do in our other work plan objectives, which is our webinars, our online courses, and whatnot. And that's where we do actually have those requirements. You know, we need to run X amount of classes per semester, and they have to be self-sustaining and whatnot. Does that answer your question?
Yes.
Sorry, I can't answer Micah, but would it be fair to say you're building an online community to share best practices around online pedagogy and integration of technology? Yeah,
it has a lot to do with, I mean, there is a definite focus on online effectiveness, online pedagogy, but also effective use of technology in whatever way that you're trying to do it. But the definite charge is faculty to faculty, and as a group for you guys to kind of communicate and share. And if not within our center, using the practice or the idea behind using that kind of environment so that you can incorporate it locally to your own, methods.
And my understanding is that you invite faculty or faculty and volunteers to come and do a presentation with you or hang out.
That's right. Yeah. So in this, I don't know if you walked in right before that, but we showed a screen where in the community there was a couple links like submit a topic, join a hangout, or participate in the hangout. I mean, so yeah. So definitely some opportunities for you guys. We'd love to see you guys participate. If there's something of interest that you're doing that's really exciting, we'd love to hear about it and share it, showcase it with other people across the system. Much like how a conference operates, just we're doing it through technology.
And I can testify to doing webinars with you guys. I haven't done it with the centers today, but we got one, and we had 500 people register for our webinar, and 250 people turned up.
Yeah.
And ours was on Open Ed.
Yeah.
Sharing resources throughout.
Yeah. Yeah. So.
It's a good place to.
It really is. I mean, I think what's nice about it is because we don't represent an institution, that we can break through some of those kind of political barriers where, hey, why are you doing it with this, and why are we going out here? And so we'd love to have you guys participate as well. Yes, one last question.
Oh, no.
Any other questions, comments? Well, I just want to say thank you guys. Hopefully we'll see you online. Enjoy the rest of your conference.